Greetings, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in into another episode of the Principal Conference, brought to you by Dr. McDaniel of episode 4, season 2. In this episode, I will be teaching the evaluation scale for teachers when us principals gives our review throughout the year. So the video gonna be pretty lengthy and pretty informative and pretty long. So how about you just sit back, grab your pen and some paper, because it's gonna be a ride that you do not want to miss. So let's begin. Evaluation Guide for Teachers of 2023 or 2024. And I even wrote it down on my board. Okay. Like I always say, it could be backwards, but I'm making it work. All right. Number 1, purpose. This guide has been developed to provide teachers a common understanding of the Louisiana evaluation components, tools, and practice. That's the reason of my tutorial of this episode. It'll give you some more understanding, some more insight. Topics include evaluation, rationale, and policy continuum of evaluation and certification. Elements of evaluation, professional practice scores, and student performance scores. And timeline. That's our general purpose of the evaluation that we give teachers. Next slide. Evaluation, law, and policy. Okay. The terminology of this in conjunction with evaluation. The compass. Compass is the entire system of evaluation. All right. The compass rubric. The compass rubric is the name of the recommended observation rubric used by a school system for evaluation of professional practice. Okay. CLASS, class, which we all would know, is used for operation in early childhood classrooms. Alternate rubrics require a professional practice observation rubric request form. And now we're about to go over what CIS means. Compress Information System. Remember that terminology because it's going to be brought up, a lot in this, in this slide, in this tutorial video. Compress Information System, that what CIS means, is the IT system, also known as the Human Capital Information System, HCS. This is the required system of record to enter both professional practice scores and student outline scores, evaluation scores. Okay. Next slide. Bulletin 130 means the Louisiana State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, BESIS for short abbreviation, policy that outlines regulations for the evaluation and assessment of school personnel. This policy provides the purpose, the framework, measures, and guidelines for evaluation. Note, all evaluators are required to recertify annually to evaluate. Like we have to recertify annually to evaluate, to give an observation. Okay? Now, purpose of educator evaluation. I know that we all want to know what the purpose of, educator evaluation. So, I'm finna explain. Number one, ensure qualified and effective personnel are employed in instructional and administrative positions. Number two, enhance the quality of instruction and administration. Number three, provide procedure to retain effective teachers and leaders and to strengthen the learning environment. Number four, foster continuous improvement of teaching and learning by providing opportunity for targeted professional growth and development. That's all each per bulletin 130. That is the purpose of an educator evaluation. Okay. Next, we're going to discuss the framework of effective evaluation. I even jot out a chart I'm going to write on my board so you can get a descriptive idea on what to look for in the insight, a descriptive insight. Framework of effective evaluation. Each local school board has a responsibility of providing a program for the evaluation of certified and other professional personnel employed within the system. Programs should be appropriate and should meet the need of the school district. Local personnel evaluation plans includes, at a minimum, the following elements. So, I'm about to write it down for you. Number one is job description. And it goes in a chain. Okay, so bear with me, you guys. Okay, so then I'm gonna do this. Because I want you to learn, the evaluation scale. Number one, think of it as a circle, a continuous circle. You got over here is the grievance process. Okay? And then you have the job description. Okay? And then it's gonna keep alternating down to professional growth, planning, process. And then it's gonna keep on going. It's in the chain down to observation. And my marker also fading out, so just, disregard that as well. Data, collection process. And then also, we're going to keep on going until it says professional development. Professional development and support. And then in the middle here, you're going to have the, it all make up an effective evaluation scale. So I just want you to get you a more descriptive general idea on what to look for. Hopefully you can see that. Yes. You have the grieving process. Then you have the job description. Then you have the professional growth planning process. Then you have the observation data collection process. And then you have the professional development and support. And it all make up the effective evaluation. So yes, that's all part of the Bulletin 130 of Louisiana effective evaluation. Okay. All right. Next is evaluation and certification. When school personnel are evaluated by the standard of effectiveness, those scores are entered into the Campus Information System. What's that called? CIS. And then assessed to ensure, renew, or advance certificates. And that's a scale you have to follow as well. And it breaks it down as it goes in this chronological order. It goes evaluation, drop down to system of record, and that part of the CIS, Campus Information System. And then it drop down to the certification. Certification. Evaluation, system of record, part of the CIS, Campus Information System, then the certification. That's another descriptive general insight that I give you. Okay. Next is elements of evaluation. Total evaluation scores are comprised of professional practice and student outcome scores. Professional practice observation scores could be 50% of total score. 2 formal observation on a 4-point scale. Student outcomes, value added model, abbreviation called the VAM. So remember that as well. VAM, V-A-M, value added model. Plus student learning targets, abbreviation SLT, student learning targets. Could be, 50% of total score. Non-VAM teachers, SLT equal 50%. So non-value added model teachers, student learning targets equals 50%. And value added model teachers, SLT, student learning targets equal 15%. VAM, value added model, equals 35%. So that is the breakdown, the different barriers to student outcomes of VAM and SLTs, of observations. That you must have the two formal observations scale. And that was slide elements of evaluation student outcomes. Next slide. Well, next slide, same slide, but different page. Student outcomes, VAM. Do you remember what VAM means? Value added model. Okay, the value added model measures student success compared to similar peers year to year, like from different grade level over the grades, years that the student have been learning in grade school. The VAM predicts how well students will perform on the assessment in comparison to their peers with similar prior assessment scores and background, like the LEAP test, ACT, SATs, the big assessment tests, on-state tests, standardized state tests that our students have to take. Once a student had taken state assessments, the model shows the extent to which his or her achievement was on target with what was expected, student expected score. Okay? The difference between a student actual achievement and his or her expected achievement is known as the value added. Resource, VAM, value added model, frequently asked questions. All right. How is VAM measured? So here is another scale that I'm about to, demonstrate on the board. But first, I'm finna give you the definition on how is VAM is measured. A student VAM score is represented of the difference between a student actual achievement and his or her expected achievement. Okay? The score can be a positive or negative number. If a student did exactly as expected, the student VAM score would be 0. In this example, the student VAM score is, a positive 65%. The difference between her expected score is like 710, and the actual score could be like 775. I'm about to break it down to what I'm talking about if you don't understand it. So I'm going to, maybe I can write it over here. I could write it over here. So this is the scale. Just focus on the scale right now, you guys. Don't focus on this other because we already went over that. And this could be 850. This could be 800. Okay. This could be 750. You see how it's spaced between every 50, percent scores. Then 700. And then what's next could be 650. You got it. Okay. Prior score could be down here. This is the baseline. We're going to call it prior score of 3 years. And then we're going to put prior score 2 years. And then prior score 1 year. And then we're going to have the current score this year. Current score this year. So it kind of jumberish, but I'm making it work. Because like I said, my marker is just almost, dry. But I'm still making it work. I'm making my lemons out of lemonade somehow. So we're gonna have this box gonna be on the 700 margin of the 3 year prior. And then she improved just a smidge of the prior year. It's gonna be of the prior 2 years. And then she kind of went down of the prior score 1 year. And then she enhanced her learning and improved in the current year up to 750. So you see how, and then down here, she went back down, student VAM model. And this all part of the student VAM score. And also you guys, it's just a template. It's not no one real grade, but it's just what we judge and what we look for when we goes to the student evaluation with our teachers. So prior score 3 years, she was at the model of 700. Prior score 2 years, she was at the model of 700. Prior score of 1 year, she was at the model score of 700 still. Prior score of this current year, she went up 50%, okay? And that'd be 750. So, and that is all part of the student VAM score. Hopefully you all saw my little description. I'm not on the Pablo Picasso or anybody. I just want you to get a more general descriptive ideas on what VAM is measured, how VAM is measured. Okay. All right. Next slide. Data used in VAM calculations. Prior year scores. And this could be the definition of prior year scores, just like I demonstrated. Scale score from state assessment of all subjects from up to 3 years prior, just what I just have, illustrated on the board. Student attendance, total number of days student is absent. Student suspension, total number of times the student had been suspended from school. Student mobility, yes or no, based on if the student is enrolled in more than one school in an academic year. Gifted classification, it could be yes or no. Section 504 classification could be yes or no. Special education classification, emotional disturbance, specific learning disability, mild intellectual disability, speech or language impairment, or other health impairment. There is the data used in VAM calculations. Okay, now we're going to discuss VAM eligible teachers in 2023-2024. VAM results are produced for teachers in the following contents and grades. So the contents, I ain't gonna write this on the chart because my board is It's, yeah, and yeah. I already have two to write this chart on the board. You can just, take notes if you have a pen or a pencil. You can write this yourself when you on your educational leadership journey. So the content for grades 4th grade through 8th grade for ELA. Math, grades 4 to 8. Science, grades 4 through 8. Social studies, it's unavailable. Field testing, Algebra 1, all grades was used. The VAM, algebra teachers, Algebra 1, all grades. Geometry, all grades. English 1, all grades. English 2, all grades. As principals and teachers to verify fosters, for verify rosters each spring. Excuse me. All right. All right, next slide. Student outcomes, student learning targets. Student learning targets are tools that enables educators to set meaningful goals or academic progress over a given period of time. Teachers must set a minimum of 2 SLTs based on state-approved assessments. In Act 333 and BISA's policy required that each student learning target be discussed in a meeting between an educator and, an evaluator and an evaluatee, the person who's being evaluated. Student learning targets not discussed in a meeting between an evaluator and evaluatee shall not be used in a person evaluation. Note, the SLT, the student learning targets template, has a signature to assure that a meeting takes place, and this is a template. Just a template. The Student Learning Target SLT Reflection Tool provides guiding questions to you during development of SLT in order to create meaningful SLT that can be progress monitored and will impact student success. All right? It is important for SLT to be revisited throughout the year. So, it goes in a chain like such, okay? I'm gonna write it down. Okay, the SLT could be revisited throughout the year. I'm gonna write it at the bottom of the board. It could be the SLT development should be first. And then they're gonna break down to SLT approval. Then it's gonna break down to SLT progress. SLT progress monitoring and action planning. Sorry about my writing, you guys. I know I'm running out of space on my board. And then the last one is the SLT final review and reflection. So So the SLT chart should be SLT development, SLT approval, SLT progress monitoring and action planning, and last, SLT final review and reflection. Okay? All right. Now, in this slide, just hold on with me. We almost to the end. I know it's lengthy. It's got a little bit more while to go, but it's informative. It's insightful, and you have to get it. I want you to be familiar with it. Familiarize yourself with it as you see it on your educational, journey, and while you in your practice study. So, and you can look back at this tutorial and say, oh, I learned this from the principal conference. Yes, that's what I want you to say. It's useful, you guys. It's very vital. Next slide. Writing student learning targets. Teachers should develop SLT in their first semester or immediately upon hire in order to understand teaching goals and plan for instruction accordingly. The SLT formula can be used as follows in any circumstance, and that includes the outcome, and then after that could be the amount of time, then after that on an assessment, then after that for a number of students. Resources. To view assessment appropriate for the SLT, please see the I don't have to read all that. That could be given. That could be just a template. That's just a template I had written down. You have to need all that. The 3 types of growth targets. 3 types of growth targets. Tiered growth target. Tiered growth targets include all students with varied degrees of expected growth. Target growth targets. Target growth is appropriate as the second SLT when the first SLT included all students. Student groups are the focus on this SLT goal. Individual target growth. Individual growth target provides all students with individualized growth targets based on previous performance and expectations. All right. Now I'm going to explain what a tiered growth target, definition. On this slide, all students are included on a single SLT with varied degrees of expected growth. Tier 1, baseline. Students scoring above a real percentage on their approved assessment. All right. Target, final assessment score of real percentage. It could be approved, could be above the original score or below. Tier 2, students scoring a 2 score, say 100, then minus 80% on approved assessment. Then the final assessment score of a 75% or above. I'm just giving you an example. Tier 3, students scoring below, I'm going to say 100% on approved assessment. Then the final assessment score of 90%, or above. And the tier growth targets always include 3 tiers and the baseline and the targets as their focus point. Right? All right, you guys. We passed 30 minutes. I know you're probably getting kind of, delirious or getting, exhausted by the information. I know it's a lot, but it's vital. Next slide. Target growth targets. Students groups are the focus for this SLT only when the first SLT includes all students. SLT number 1, let's say 50% of all students will reach their individual growth targets in reading comprehension and written expression on the identified writing task for the specified ELA guidebook unit. Just an example. SLT number 2 comes with 2 brackets. SLT number 2. Say 90% of an identified student group will move up 1 score point in knowledge of language and convention on the identified writing task for the specified ELA guidebook unit. It's just an example. Okay. Next slide. We're going to talk about the individual growth targets. Okay. Targets should reflect student starting points and previous performance expectations. And it has 3 columns in the individual growth targets. And this all, current evaluation scale at that of 2023 and 2024. Student A will show a 4-point growth on an approved assessment. Student B will show a 3-point growth on an approved assessment. And student C will show a 6-point growth on an approved assessment. And that is, just, an example, a template on what to look for in each student in the individual growth targets on what they have to improve when we, evaluate. And that slide was the elements of evaluation, professional practice scores. And also on the professional practice scores observation, policy requires that teachers be observed twice per year. At least 1 observation must be announced and includes a pre and post conference meeting. This portion of the evaluation may include additional evaluated evidence, such as walkthrough observation, data, and evaluation of written work products. Observation, scores, and effectiveness rating can be seen on the chart on the right. And I'm going to demonstrate the chart, in a few minutes of that as well. Peer Bulletin 130. One of the observations may be waived for teachers who have earned a rating of highly effective according to the value-added model, the VAM, in the previous year. And here is the chart of what do we look for in the effectiveness rating and the composite score range. So I'm just going to erase all of this. Or I can just write at the top. So we have the effective rating. This is the column number 1. And under that, gonna be just, tell us what are we looking for. This could be ineffective. And then it can be effective emerging. It also could be affected proficiency. Proficiency. Effective proficiency and also highly effective. And then ineffective, we look for, we're gonna say X must be less than 1.5, okay? And then effective emergent could be 1.5 must be less than equal to the number that we're looking for, X, less than 2.5. Anything less than 2.5, like 2.4 or something like that, that's the X. Affected proficiency should be 2.5, less than, greater than the number that we are looking for, X, less than 3.5. See how affected proficiency, the greater number is 3.5, can go no more than 3.5 in effective proficiency. And highly affected, what we are looking for in the classroom, should be 3.5 is the lowest, and less than, greater than, must be less than, greater than the number that we're looking for. That is highly affected. And whoever highly affected than 3.5, teachers, they is exempt of, more observation in that year, and only have 2 observations per year. So, ineffective, we look for effective emergent, effective proficiency, and highly effective. Highly effective. And like I always say, disregard my writing and disregard the other, information on the board. But right now we're talking about the scale of what we look for as principal when we observe teachers. That's the scale, one of the scales. All right. Now, I'm going to explain the COMPASS rubric is the state-approved professional practice rubric. The counselor, content leader, and mentor teacher rubrics are also available in the COMPASS, library. We have a COMPASS library. All right. Note, it had been determined that these rubrics can be applied to virtual, in-person, and blended instructional formats. Now, lastly, we're going to talk about timeline, okay? I know that we love this here lastly. Okay, action steps and calendar for evaluation. 2023-2024 COMPASS Information System is called what? SIS. Timeline. Elements, PGPs. It's the first column. The second column is SLTs. The third column, SLTs again. And the fourth column is observation. And then we have a second column, second row called time span. Fall 2003, fall to winter, and then ongoing, and so forth and beyond. And we look for in the teacher action is in the timeline of the SIS timeline. Create PGP and enter into SIS. Set SLTs, meet with evaluator, and enter COMPASS Information System. And then after that, you must progress monitor and report the results on the SLT. review observation data and feedback. And last slide, evaluation system review. I know I said lastly on the other one, but this was the last slide. This was the last slide. I know you have a lot of professionals on say, just the last slide, and then they break down to another thing and another thing and another thing, but this is the last slide. This is the last slide. So just bear with me. Evaluation system review. The department, in conjunction with the Regional 14 Comprehensive Center, administered a statewide online survey for teachers and leaders in the fall of 2022. Did you know that? You learned it here on the principal conference. Over, gonna say 5,000 educators provided feedback on the survey. Survey results would help to inform the redesign of Louisiana Educator Evaluation System. So you must do the survey, you guys have to. We would like to hear what you think about when we go in and do our evaluation and observation. We'd like to hear that. Survey results are located in the LDOE Evaluation Survey Report, located in the Conference Library. Following the RFP process, the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching was awarded a contract to assist the department in utilizing local data, field research, and national research, and best practices to improve the educator evaluation system. A pilot would take place during the 2023-2024 school year. Not a pilot, it's a pilot, yeah, school year. And the new evaluation system will be rolled out over the next few years. And that concludes the teaching on the evaluation guide for teachers when us principals gives our review on our observation. So as always, you guys, the information was lengthy. It was almost 50 minutes long, but it was certainly informative, certainly inspiring, and certainly an eye-opener, I hope, for you. It was certainly fun for me because I love going through all these, different, guidelines on what should I do when I does my walkthroughs in the classroom, and what can I expect my teachers to follow. And hopefully that if you an aspiring principal, you would enjoy it as well. So as always, this concludes on the principal conference of season 2, episode 4. And as always, I am always happy to help. And as always, thank you for tuning in to the principal conference. And I hope every one of you have a blessed and wonderful day, and always be productive in your time here on earth. Thanks.